The van door slammed shut, swallowing Diana's scream into darkness. 3 weeks earlier, she had been just another invisible maid, the black girl from nowhere who kept her head down and polished silver in Seoul's most dangerous mansion. No one noticed her. No one cared, except him. Kim Raon, the Mafia boss whose name made grown men weep, had started watching her, not with cruelty, with something far more dangerous, curiosity. And Seo Min noticed. The fiancée everyone feared, the woman who had clawed her way to power by standing beside a monster. She saw the way Raon's cold eyes softened when Diana entered a room. She saw her empire crumbling, so she made a call. It's a new year, and while others scroll past stories like this, you stayed. That means you care, you feel. You don't want to miss moments that remind us we're alive. So subscribe, join this family, and tell me where you're watching from. Your presence matters more than you think today. The chandelier dripped diamonds of light across the grand ballroom, casting shadows that danced like ghosts across the marble floor. 300 of Seoul's most dangerous souls gathered beneath its brilliance, dressed in silk and secrets, their laughter sharp as hidden blades, and at the center of it all stood Seo Min. She moved through the crowd like a queen surveying her kingdom, her crimson gown trailing behind her like spilled blood. Every head turned. Every conversation paused. Every powerful man who had ordered deaths without flinching suddenly found reason to bow. "Congratulations on the expansion, Mr. Yo," Min said smoothly, accepting a champagne flute from a trembling server without glancing at him. "Raon mentioned your territory has doubled. How fortunate for you." The aging crime lord bowed deeply. "Only because of Master Kim's generosity, Miss Seo." Min smiled, a smile that never reached her eyes. Generosity must be earned. Remember that. She walked away before he could respond, leaving him sweating beneath his $1,000 suit. This was her power. Not guns, not money, fear wrapped in elegance. From the elevated platform overlooking the ballroom, Kim Raon watched the festivities with the stillness of a predator at rest. His black suit fit his broad shoulders like armor, his sharp jawline catching shadows that made him appear carved from stone. He held no drink, made no small talk, simply observed. The most powerful mafia boss in South Korea didn't need to perform. His presence alone was performance enough. Min ascended the stairs gracefully, sliding her arm through his with practiced intimacy. "The Busan syndicate leaders are requesting an audience. Shall I arrange it?" "Tomorrow." One word, no explanation. Their arrangement had always been this way. Strategic, calculated, cold. Two powerful families merged through engagement, not affection. Min provided social navigation and political alliances. Raon provided protection and status. Love had never been part of the contract. Min had convinced herself she didn't need love. Power was enough. Power had to be enough. "You seem distracted tonight," she murmured, her fingers tightening on his arm. "I'm never distracted." Below them, the crowd parted for servers carrying elaborate trays. And among them, quiet, steady, unremarkable to everyone else, walked Diana Deighton. She moved with careful precision, her simple black uniform pressed and proper, her natural hair pulled back neatly. She didn't rush, didn't fumble, didn't shrink beneath the weight of wealthy stares that dismissed her as invisible. 3 days in Seoul. 3 days inside this mansion of monsters. Diana had learned quickly that survival meant silence, but silence didn't mean submission. It meant observation, strategy, patience. She approached a cluster of drunk executives, offering appetizers with practiced grace. One of them, a thick-necked man with cruel eyes, grabbed her wrist roughly. "You're new. Pretty thing. Where did they find you?" Diana's expression remained calm. "The kitchen, sir." May I offer you another selection? His grip tightened. I'm offering you a selection. My room. Midnight. The men around him laughed. Diana didn't flinch. I'm here to serve food, sir. Nothing more. His face reddened. Do you know who I am? I'll have you thrown back to whatever African village. Release her. The voice cut through the noise like a blade through silk. Everyone froze. Kim Raon stood 3 feet away, having descended from the platform so silently that no one had noticed. His face remained expressionless, but his dark eyes held something that made the temperature drop. The executive released Diana's wrist immediately, stumbling backward. Master Kim, I was merely... You were leaving. Not a question. Not a suggestion. The man practically fled, his companions scattering like roaches in sudden light. Raon's gaze shifted to Diana. For one suspended moment, their eyes met. She didn't bow frantically, didn't weep with gratitude, didn't tremble. She simply inclined her head with quiet dignity. Thank you, sir. Something flickered across his stoic features, so brief it might have been imagined. His jaw softened. His eyes warmed by degrees so subtle that only someone studying him intensely would notice. And Seo Min was studying him intensely. From the platform above, her champagne glass frozen halfway to her lips, Min watched her fiancé's expression transform for a woman in servant's clothing, a transformation she had never witnessed in 3 years of strategic partnership. Her blood turned to ice. Sir? Diana asked quietly when he didn't move. Raon blinked, the vulnerability vanishing behind his mask. Return to your duties. Yes, sir. She walked away without looking back, her spine straight, her dignity intact. Raon watched her disappear into the kitchen. Then he climbed back to the platform where Min waited, her smile now sharp enough to cut glass. Defending servants now? She asked lightly, though her voice held edges. Defending order, Raon replied flatly. He was causing a scene. Of course. She said nothing more, but inside, something cracked. For 3 years, Min had built her identity around being irreplaceable, the woman beside the throne, the queen everyone feared. Now, for the first time, she felt something she had never experienced. Threat. Not from rival syndicates, not from ambitious underbosses, from a maid who didn't bow. As the banquet continued below, Min made a silent vow that settled into her bones like poison. Whatever this is, it ends. That woman will never have what belongs to me. She smiled at Raon adoringly, squeezed his arm affectionately, played the perfect fiancé with practiced precision. But behind her eyes, war drums began to beat. And Diana Deighton, unpacking her meager belongings in the servants' quarters later that night, had no idea that by simply existing, she had just become the most dangerous woman in Seoul. Not because she sought power, but because she had already captured something far more valuable. The heart of a man who had forgotten he possessed one. The garden had become their unspoken sanctuary. Raon discovered it by accident. Diana tending roses at dawn, her fingers gentle against thorns that would make others recoil. He had been walking off another sleepless night, his mind heavy with territory disputes and blood debts. She hadn't startled when he appeared, hadn't scrambled to bow or flee. She had simply continued pruning, acknowledging his presence with a quiet nod. That was 3 weeks ago. Now Raon found himself wandering toward the garden more frequently than he cared to admit, never announcing himself, never demanding her attention, simply existing in the same space while she worked. You don't sleep, Diana observed one morning, not looking up from the soil she was turning. Neither do you. I sleep. You pace past my window at 3 a.m. Raon paused. He hadn't realized anyone noticed his midnight wanderings. The mind refuses to quiet because you carry everything alone. She finally glanced up, her dark eyes holding no judgment. Even kings need someone to share the weight. I'm not a king. No. Kings inherit power. She returned to her work. You built yours from nothing. That's heavier. Raon stared at her for a long moment, something unfamiliar stirring beneath his ribs. No one spoke to him like this. Not his men who feared him, not the rival bosses who envied him, not men who strategized with him. Diana simply saw him. You're not afraid of me, he said finally. Should I be? Everyone else is. Diana stood, brushing dirt from her worn gloves. Fear is exhausting, sir. I've spent enough of my life being afraid. I decided somewhere over the Pacific Ocean that I was done with it. Done with fear. Done with letting it control my choices. She met his gaze steadily. You're powerful. Dangerous, probably, but you're also human. I've learned that monsters don't tend roses at dawn or ask maids philosophical questions. For the first time in years, Raon felt his chest loosen. Not from attraction. Not yet. From being understood. Min watched them from the third-floor window, her manicured nails digging crescents into her palms. The garden. Again. Every morning for 3 weeks, her fiancé, the man who hadn't voluntarily spent time with her in months, sought out that woman's company, that maid, that nobody. Min pressed her forehead against the cold glass, memories flooding unbidden. She had been 15 when her father sold her future to the Kim family. Not literally, but close enough. A strategic engagement between syndicates, securing alliances through marriage promises. You will be perfect, her mother had instructed. Beautiful, composed, valuable. Make them need you. So Min had crafted herself into a weapon of elegance. She learned to read rooms before entering them, to smile while calculating, to command respect through fear disguised as grace. She had sacrificed softness, sacrificed authenticity, sacrificed everything warm within herself to become what the Mafia world demanded. And it had worked. For years it had worked. She was feared, respected, untouchable, but only because she stood beside Raon. Without him, she was nothing. Without him, she returned to being that desperate 15-year-old girl whose value depended entirely on male approval. This isn't jealousy, Min whispered to her reflection. This is survival. The distinction felt important. Jealousy was weakness, emotion, vulnerability. Survival was strategy, necessity, strength. She wasn't jealous of a servant, she was protecting her empire. That evening, Min tried something she hadn't attempted in years. Vulnerability. She found Raon in his study, surrounded by documents and the permanent scent of whiskey he rarely drank. Can we talk? She asked softly, closing the door behind her. Raon didn't look up. About? Us. The word hung between them like smoke. There's nothing to discuss, he said flatly. Min moved closer, her heart hammering beneath her silk blouse. We haven't been connected lately. I thought perhaps we could have dinner. Just us. Like before. Before what? Before you became so distant. Now he looked up, his dark eyes unreadable. I've always been distant, Min. You simply stopped pretending otherwise. The words struck like physical blows. I'm trying, she whispered, hating the tremor in her voice. I'm trying to reach you. Perhaps, Raon returned to his documents. I don't wish to be reached. Min stood frozen, humiliation burning through her carefully constructed composure. He had never been cruel to her. But this indifference was worse. This confirmed what she already knew. She was losing him. To a maid who tended roses and spoke of fear like it was a choice. The decision crystallized at 2 a.m. Min sat in her private quarters, a burner phone in her trembling hands. She didn't want Diana dead. She wasn't a murderer. She just wanted her gone. disappeared. Removed from the equation long enough for Raon to remember where his loyalty belonged, the number connected on the third ring. "I have a job," Min said quietly. "Not permanent, just removal. A woman needs to vanish for a while." "How long?" "Long enough?" "Who's the target?" Min closed her eyes. "Diana Deighton, the new maid. I'll send details." "Payment?" "Whatever you require." Silence. Then, "Consider it done." Min ended the call, her heart pounding violently. This wasn't jealousy. This was survival. She had to believe that. 3 days later, Diana finished her evening shift, exhaustion settling into her bones. The mansion hummed with distant activity, but the servants' entrance was quiet, peaceful. She stepped outside, breathing the cool Seoul air, thinking of her mother's medical bills and her siblings' school fees, and all the reasons she had traveled across the world for this job. The van came from nowhere. Screeching tires shattered the silence. Hands grabbed her from behind, rough, violent, practiced. Diana tried to scream, but a chemical-soaked cloth pressed against her face, flooding her senses with something sweet and suffocating. Her vision blurred. Her limbs went heavy. The last thing she saw was the mansion's lights fading as the van doors slammed shut. Then darkness, complete and absolute. And somewhere inside, Seo Min poured herself wine with steady hands, convincing herself that what she had done was necessary, strategic, survivable. But she had miscalculated one critical factor, the depth of Kim Raon's heart, and the devastation he would unleash to reclaim what it protected. Mrs. Cho found the cloth first. It lay crumpled near the servants' entrance, white fabric stained with something chemical and wrong. Diana's work shoes sat abandoned nearby, one overturned as if kicked off during a struggle. The head housekeeper's scream echoed through the mansion like a death knell. Within minutes, chaos erupted. Security personnel flooded the grounds, flashlights cutting through darkness, voices crackling through radios with increasing urgency. Servants gathered in trembling clusters, whispering prayers and fears in equal measure. "Find her!" someone shouted. "Check every corner!" But Diana was already gone. The surveillance footage confirmed it. A black van, no plates, 3 masked men. 47 seconds from grab to disappearance. Professional, clean, devastating. No one wanted to tell Raon. His second-in-command, Park Jun, drew the shortest straw. He climbed the stairs to the master study with legs that felt like concrete, each step heavier than the last. He had delivered news of betrayals, assassinations, and million-dollar losses without flinching. This felt different. This felt like walking toward his own execution. June knocked once, entered without waiting. Raon sat behind his desk, reviewing documents, his face carved from familiar stone. "Sir," June's voice cracked. "Diana Deighton is missing. Surveillance shows abduction approximately 1 hour ago." Raon's pen stopped moving. He didn't look up, didn't speak, didn't breathe. The silence that followed was unlike anything June had witnessed in 15 years of service. It wasn't the quiet before orders. It wasn't contemplative stillness. It was the silence of something breaking. Raon's jaw tightened. His knuckles whitened around the pen until it snapped, ink bleeding across documents worth millions. Still, he didn't move. June had seen his boss order deaths without blinking, had watched him dismantle rival empires with cold precision, had witnessed interrogations that left hardened criminals weeping, but he had never seen Kim Raon afraid, until now. "Sir!" "Lock Seoul down." 3 words, barely whispered, but they carried the weight of an empire's wrath. June didn't hesitate. "Yes, sir, immediately." He fled the room, already barking orders into his phone, and behind him, Raon finally moved. He stood slowly, walked to the window overlooking his city, the territory he had conquered, the kingdom he had built, and pressed his forehead against cold glass. His reflection stared back, A monster who had just discovered he had a heart, and someone had stolen the only person who made it beat. Seoul had never experienced terror like this. Within 2 hours, Raon's organization mobilized with surgical precision. Every safe house in the city faced simultaneous raids. Warehouses were stormed. Underground gambling dens were torn apart. Known kidnapping rings found themselves surrounded by men with dead eyes and loaded weapons. The Mafia world trembled. Not because violence was unusual, but because the motivation was unprecedented. Kim Raon wasn't hunting for power, wasn't protecting territory, wasn't sending messages to rivals. He was searching for one woman, a maid, a servant, a nobody by their standards, and he was willing to burn everything to find her. "He's lost his mind," whispered crime lords in hidden rooms. "He's found his heart," corrected wiser ones. "That's far more dangerous." Raon refused food, refused sleep, refused comfort. He joined search parties personally, something unheard of for a boss of his stature. His expensive suits became wrinkled, his perfect composure cracked at the edges. For 72 hours, Seoul held its breath. Seo Min played her role flawlessly. She arrived at Raon's side within hours of the news, her eyes red with manufactured tears, her voice trembling with practiced concern. "I came as soon as I heard," she whispered, clutching his arm. "Oh, Raon, this is horrible, that poor girl." He didn't respond, didn't look at her, but he didn't push her away either. So Min stayed. She brought him tea he didn't drink, offered words of comfort he didn't acknowledge, held his hand while he stared at surveillance footage for the 100th time. "We'll find her," Min murmured, stroking his fingers. "Your men are the best. She'll be home soon." Inside, she smiled. This was exactly what she wanted. Raon broken, vulnerable, dependent, leaning on her, needing her, remembering that she was the one who stayed, the one who cared, the one who belonged beside him. When Diana was never found, when enough time passed and hope faded, Raon would heal. He would move forward. With her. "I've been praying for her safety," Min added softly, her performance Oscar-worthy. Raon's hand tightened around hers. He believed her. And that belief shattered something in the universe's sense of justice. The breakthrough came on day 4. Raon's men cornered a mid-level criminal named Sung Ho, connected to several kidnapping operations throughout the city. Under normal circumstances, interrogation would involve violence, broken bones, blood, screaming. But Raon didn't operate normally anymore. He entered the interrogation room alone. Sung Ho sat chained to a metal chair, defiant despite his circumstances. He had survived worse. Would survive this. Or so he thought. Raon pulled up a chair and sat directly across from him, close enough to touch, close enough to see every flicker of emotion, and then he simply looked. "Where is she?" Raon's voice was quiet, almost gentle. Sung Ho laughed nervously. "I don't know what you're... Diana Deighton, black woman, taken 4 days ago?" Raon tilted his head. "You arranged the van. I arrange lots of vans." Silence stretched. Raon didn't blink, didn't move, didn't threaten. He just watched. The silence grew heavier, suffocating. Sung Ho's laughter died. His confidence cracked. Sweat beaded on his forehead. "You don't understand," Raon said softly. "I'm not going to hurt you. I'm going to sit here and wait and watch until you realize that every second she remains missing, your entire world shrinks. What is that? Your family, your friends, your business partners, everyone you've ever loved or needed." Raon's eyes never wavered. "They'll watch you disappear into nothing, and they'll know it was because you stayed silent." Sung Ho's breathing quickened. "I don't negotiate," Raon continued. "I don't bargain. I simply remove obstacles, permanently, thoroughly, completely." He leaned forward. "So, where is she?" The breakdown took 7 minutes. Sung-ho crumbled, confessing everything, the location, the men involved, the timeline, and then he said the words that stopped Raon's heart. "We were hired, paid in advance." By who? Sung-ho hesitated. Fear of Raon warred with fear of the alternative. Raon waited. Seoul. The name echoed in the concrete room. Raon's expression didn't change. His body didn't move, but something behind his eyes died. "You're certain?" "She contacted us directly, wanted the woman gone, not dead, just disappeared." Silence. Then Raon stood, walked to the door, paused. "Bring Diana home," he said quietly to the guards outside. They scrambled to obey. Raon turned back, his voice dropping to a whisper that somehow carried more weight than any scream. "And bring Min to me." The words hung in the air like a death sentence. Because they were. The warehouse smelled of rust and despair. Raon's men breached the door with precision, flooding the abandoned building with flashlights and shouted commands. Kidnappers scattered like roaches, some surrendering immediately, others attempting escape only to meet unforgiving fists. But Raon saw none of it. His eyes found only her. Diana sat crumpled in the corner, wrists bound, face streaked with dried tears and dirt. Her uniform was torn, her natural hair matted, her body trembling with exhaustion and fear accumulated over 4 endless days. But she was breathing. Alive. Alive. Raon crossed the distance in seconds, dropping to his knees before her with a gracelessness that would have shocked anyone who knew him. His hands shook as he untied her restraints, fingers fumbling with knots he could have sliced through easily. He needed to feel them loosen, needed the physical proof that this nightmare was ending. "Diana." His voice cracked. "Diana, look at me." Her eyes lifted slowly, unfocused at first, then widening with recognition. "Sir, you're safe now." The words came out broken, barely whispered. "You're safe. I'm here. It's over." He stripped off his jacket, a $10,000 garment now worthless compared to its purpose, and wrapped it around her shaking shoulders. His arms followed, pulling her against his chest with desperate tenderness. His men watched in stunned silence. They had seen Kim Raon order executions without blinking, had witnessed him dismantle rival empires with cold calculation, had followed him through blood and betrayal without ever glimpsing vulnerability. Now they watched their boss cradle a servant like she was made of glass and gold. "I'm sorry," Raon murmured against her hair. "I'm so sorry. I should have protected you. I should have—" "You found me." Diana's voice was hoarse but steady. "That's enough." He pulled back slightly, studying her face as if memorizing every detail. His thumb brushed dirt from her cheek with heartbreaking gentleness. "It will never be enough," he said quietly. "But I will spend the rest of my life trying." He lifted her himself, refusing to let anyone else touch her, carrying her through the warehouse, past his stunned soldiers, into the waiting vehicle. For the first time in his life, Kim Raon looked human, and somehow that made him more powerful than ever. 3 hours later, Min entered Raon's study with practiced elegance. She had rehearsed this performance meticulously, the relieved smile, the grateful tears, the loving fiancée celebrating her partner's victory. "Raon!" She rushed toward him with arms extended. "I heard they found her. Thank God, I've been praying constantly. Is she all right? Where is she now? I should send flowers or perhaps—" "Sit down." 2 words. Ice cold. Min's rehearsed momentum faltered. "Darling?" "Sit down." She lowered herself into the chair across from his desk, her perfect composure beginning to fracture. Something was wrong. The room felt different. The air tasted like danger. Raon didn't look at her. He simply pressed a button on his phone. Sung-ho's recorded voice filled the silence. "We were hired, paid in advance." "By who?" "SEO Min. She contacted us directly, wanted the woman gone, not dead, just disappeared. The recording ended. Silence. Min's blood turned to ice. Her heart stopped. Her carefully constructed world crumbled around her like ash. Raon, her voice emerged, strangled. Raon, I can explain. Can you? He finally looked at her, and what she saw in his eyes made her want to disappear. Not anger, not hatred. Something worse. Disappointment, disgust, finality. I did it for us! The words exploded from her, desperate and raw. I did it because I love you! Because I've spent years building everything for this relationship, for our future, and she was destroying it. She's nothing, Raon. A servant, a nobody from nowhere, and you were choosing her over everything we built. Tears streamed down Min's face, real tears now, not manufactured ones. I did what I had to do to survive, she continued, her voice breaking. You don't understand what it's like. Being nothing without someone. Watching everything you've sacrificed slip away because some random woman smiled at the right moment. Raon listened without interrupting. When she finished, breathless and shattered, he spoke quietly. She is everything. Min flinched as if struck. Diana Deighton showed me something I forgot existed, Raon continued, his voice terrifyingly calm. Humanity. Warmth. The possibility that I could be more than fear and power. She never asked for anything, never manipulated, never schemed. He stood slowly. She simply existed, and that was enough to remind me that I wanted to live differently. Raon, please. You destroyed what little remained between us. He walked to the window, his back to her. Not by threatening my empire, not by challenging my authority, but by hurting someone innocent because your pride couldn't tolerate being second. Min fell to her knees. I'm sorry, I'll do anything. Please, don't end this. Don't throw away everything we— The engagement is over. 4 words, spoken without emotion, final. Security will escort you out. Your belongings will be delivered. Your family will be notified. Raon! Min screamed. Raon! He didn't turn around. The guards entered, lifting her with professional detachment, carrying her toward the door despite her struggling. I loved you, she shrieked. I did everything for you. The door closed. Silence returned. And Min, the woman everyone feared, the untouchable fiancée, the queen of Seoul's underworld, was erased. Not by violence, by irrelevance, 6 weeks later. Seoul's skyline glittered like scattered diamonds against velvet darkness. The mansion's rooftop garden had been transformed with soft lights and fragrant flowers. Diana's flowers, grown from seeds she had planted during her first weeks here. She stood among them now, healthy again, whole again, wearing a simple dress that somehow looked more elegant than any designer gown. Raon approached slowly, his usual confidence replaced by something almost nervous. Diana.
She turned, smiling softly. You look uncomfortable. I am. He stopped before her. This isn't something I've done before. Speaking honestly, asking for something I want desperately and might not deserve. Diana's expression softened. Raon, he knelt. Not as a mafia boss, not as a feared ruler, not as a man of power, simply as a man. Diana Deighton, you taught me that strength isn't cruelty, that power means nothing without compassion, that I could be better than what I became. He reached for her hand. Stay with me, not as a servant, not as someone who needs protection, but as my partner, my equal. His voice trembled. My heart. Diana's eyes glistened. A single tear fell. Yes. He rose, pulling her close, pressing his forehead against hers. And Seoul's most dangerous man finally found peace. Because no one dared challenge the Korean mafia boss's fearless fiancée, until a black maid showed him what real power truly was. Love, compassion, strength, and the courage to choose differently. Thank you for staying till the end. Most people click away, but you didn't, and that means something. Don't disappear now. Subscribe, stay close this year, and keep walking with us through these stories. Comment, share, and tell me where you're watching from. Your voice matters.